it gets to the point where we just have to be honest. And it's very clear that the system wants us all to be single. Is that even a question? I mean, just think about it like this. Why is it that the single gap rate, right, the marriage rate is getting smaller and smaller and smaller? Okay? There's a whole lot of single parenting going on, co-parenting going on. That's not good. I mean, it gets to the point where we realize that 80% of people getting married are getting divorced. And it's not just because, love isn't in the air anymore. No, no. It is because the system incentivizes practically both parties, in which I say this to say that man and woman are incentivized to not be together. Women especially are incentivized to not want to be with men, especially the ones in lower economic households, especially the ones that are closer to the impoverished rate. Okay? And they separate these families. They implement broken families into society. Okay? They normalize broken families into society. They do this to make the household unit not strong. And when we have strong households, you're going to create strong people. And strong people will overthrow a government. You see? When you have people that are not a unit, when you have people that are separated from their own family, when you destroy the nuclear family unit, you create a lot of disharmony, a lot of dissonance, a lot of turmoil within just normal human families, normal households. It creates barriers. It creates stunts of growth. A society cannot flourish when you don't have a two-parent household. When you don't have a two-parent household, dual parent, mom and dad, you're going to create a weak society. The kid is going to grow up with no dad. The daughter is going to grow up with no dad. We all know what happens when a girl grows up with no dad. We all know what happens when a boy grows up with no dad. It's not pretty. It is not pretty. Girls that do not grow up with fathers tend to be a bit on the promiscuous end. Boys that grow up with no father tend to be a bit on the feminine end, okay? Boys that grow up with no dads, I ain't saying all of them, but the vast majority of boys that grow up with no father turn out to be feminine. They are feminine in nature, okay? Because they were raised by a mom who didn't know how to teach a boy how to be a man because she ain't one. Mothers cannot teach boys how to be men. They just can't. They hardly can even be a mom because they're doing it alone. So they're insufficient. They are incompetent on being a mother and a father. So they're rendered useless, practically, okay? Not saying all single moms are useless inherently. Of course not. You know? I'd say being a single mom is probably one of the hardest jobs to do on this earth, mainly because they should not be a single mom in the first place. It's a horrible situation to be in. And that is a byproduct of the government that we live in. That is a byproduct of what was implemented on purpose. They made it to where men and women are separated. They are having a gender war. They did it on purpose. This is a byproduct. This is an implementation. This is the government's creation. They don't want family units no more. They want us to be separated so that they can control us better. Because when you don't have strong households, you have people just out here alone. And when you separate people, their power level goes down. When you have people that collect themselves, that congregate, that consider themselves a union, a community. When they come together, they become stronger. You become stronger in numbers. You don't become stronger when you disperse people around and nobody is on the same program anymore. Okay? And that's what's happening in our societies, okay? They're making it okay for women to be hypersexual. They're making it okay for, women to collect 100 bodies and then turn around by the time they're 35 and think they're ready to settle down for marriage. This is a lie. This is false empowerment. Women are not supposed to be collecting 1 million dicks. They're not supposed to be doing that. That's unhealthy. It's unnatural. Men are incentivized nowadays to basically be as feminine as possible, which is counterproductive to their core nature to dominate. Men are programmed to think that women are their equals. And as far as moral rights and, things like that, of course women are our equals. But by very nature, how can someone who is, I would say, less than in almost every metric physically, how can we look at these human beings as our equals? In other words, I don't think a woman is my equal. She's just not. The main reason why a woman is not my equal is because she's going to expect me to be her provider and also her protector. So how can you be my equal if I provide for you and also protect you? It just doesn't make sense. It's something that's counterintuitive. It's counterproductive for a man's brain to feel that way. And this is an implementation of the government. This is the government. The government taught you that a woman is your equal, but yet she expects for you to provide and for you to protect. This is very toxic at its very core to conflate these things. When you conflate being a male dominant provider and protector and also look at your woman as if she is intrinsically your equal, that makes absolutely no sense if you just think about it for 1 second. But yet, you're the bad guy when you want to be dominant. They teach you every single thing that a man naturally is, on the contrary, is actually bad for you. So they tell you that the very things that make you a man is bad. Your aggression is bad. Your dominance is bad. Your overdrive is bad. Why can't you just calm down and play some video games and eat a box of pizza with us? Why can't you just indulge? Why are you so boring? Why are you always working? It's bad. So they teach you. So you see how they're destroying the nature of both of us and how they are deviating from the natural order. Okay? The government is trying to make sure we deviate from the natural order. The government wants to make sure that men turn into girls. And they want to make sure that women turn into men. They want to teach the woman that you need to go out there and go work and go earn that piece of meat and go bring that home. But yet when you tell these women to go and elevate their status as far as their money-making potential, it turns out you're teaching these women how to be great husbands. You are teaching these women how to be wonderful husbands. Wow. You look at 9 out of 10 of a woman's resume, and you'd be like, man, you would make a great husband. Like, you know what I mean? And these days, you look at a lot of these guys' resumes, and you're like, man, you would make a great wife. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And the thing is, when a woman goes to college and she gets a great job and things like that, so women are naturally hypergamous, meaning that she wants a guy that's better than her in almost every metric. She wants a guy that's smarter, taller, stronger, everything, guys, right? I mean, we can all agree with this. And when a woman goes to college and gets her degree and then gets a high paying job, and then, she's a high earner herself now, she's also looking for a man that is exceedingly uh, more of an earner than she is. And that obviously, makes her pool of dating prospects smaller and smaller and smaller, to the point where it'll be damn near impossible for this chick to find a man that she deems is worthy, right? When in reality, it's like, chick, nobody really cares about your degree. Nobody really cares about how much you're making. But this is the government's implementation. The government wanted these women to go ahead and go earn their degree, go ahead and go earn these, go get these high paying jobs. And essentially the feminist movement encouraged this whole entire ordeal. But in the end of the day, the government took advantage of the feminist movement and said, this is perfect. Now we can get even more student loan money from females instead of just men. And then we can send them to work and then charge them taxes, more taxes coming out. And then now this is actually shortening the supply for jobs, right? So a lot of men can't even find jobs because, women decided to take up the job force as well. So now men have to compete with the women as well, which is inherently dangerous for mating prospects. And it's essentially a good way to ensure a nation dies slowly but surely, because now women feel as though they have to actually compete with the men as if they are men as well, which is quite disturbing, guys. And this is the reason why the system actually wants you to be single. It's disgusting. The system actually wants you to be single, bro, because they profit off of that when you're single. They benefit from that when you are single. When you are single, you make poor buying decisions. You start consuming things that doesn't even matter, because you don't even have a family to support anyway, bro. You don't have a woman to support, kids to support. So you're just going to be out here just buying or just doing anything, bro. So obviously that supports the system, because you're putting more money back into circulation and things like that, and you're not being conservative, bro. You're not having a family mindset. You're just out here doing anything, making everybody else rich instead of enriching yourself by starting a family and starting a bloodline, starting a whole lineage, so that you can create wealth for and have a higher sense and purpose of life. The government does not want you to have that, gang, and that is something that will enrich and fulfill your life and boost the quality of yourself, gang. And they make women not understand this as well, bro. They think these women need to enjoy their life and just explore themselves, learn themselves, all the way up until they're like 35 years old to 40 years old. By then, bro, their eggs are already just done, right? You would expect a girl to find the man that is suitable for her at the early age of between 17 to about 24 years old, bro. And you might say 17, like, damn, that she's not even legal. Well, I say 17 is like, bro, she's getting ready to transition into her adult years, bro. Like, this is the time to start getting ready for all of this stuff, bro. So let me just tell you something, man. The way that the government set our life up, and the way that this cultural thing has I would say degraded our lives as a whole, we need to pay closer attention to this stuff, okay? We need to pay closer attention to what goes on around us. And the government is obviously a huge entity that is influencing our lives in a negative way. And if you're wondering why you're single, it's because, well, you've been conditioned to be that way. Okay, you're probably not prioritizing the things that would be conducive to you being in a relationship in the first place. All right, so let's understand that on a fundamental level. Again, guys, my name is Nico Fleeks, if you don't know who I am. And if you appreciate this content, yo, do me a huge favor. It doesn't cost you anything. Smash that like button, drop a comment down for me, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a great deal. You heard me. I want to continue giving you some good game in this whole endeavor. Peace out, guys. Oosh.